and that's why their business grew. His cash flow was supposed to be 100,000 for the quarter. It was 1.2 billion. But he made a comment saying that he forever will allow employees to work from home and work from anywhere. And that night he had 800,000 hits to his job site. Now, this is so fantastic. I mean, think about that. Think about the incredible impact of that. Everyone's having trouble staffing. And this guy gets 800,000 people hitting his website.
Joining me today is Dan Plaschke, CEO of S&P Data Digital. How are you doing today, Dan?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, and just to dive straight into it, Dan, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Great Resignation and what you think it means for the future of business.
Yeah, great. So Heath, I really think it's had obviously a seismic change in the way people are, and opinions differ, right? So I'm not going to tell you that everyone's going to want to work from home forever. I'm not going to tell you people aren't going to go back to the office. Things change again, and clearly, but there were macro factors and there are micro factors. And the macro factors are, there was a huge acceleration in digital transformation, right? So I always give the example, 99 out of 100 people wanted to go see a doctor for pre-COVID-19 and said that they would not do a telemedicine. And today me and the vast majority of people would rather do a telephone call than walk into a hospital. Now that's a fine point because people perceive there's potential COVID, disease and stuff like that. So I get all that, but I just think that that's just emblematic of the entire transformation. But what we saw is that people were able to go work at home. They were mandated to work at home. And, I have a lot of friends, Heath, in the New York City area, executives, and their day consisted of 90 minutes to 2 hours one way and 90 minutes or 2 hours on the way home. And they did this every day. And what we all learned from Zoom, which became a generic word, or Teams or WebEx, or Google Meets, is that we could be highly effective. And I'm not here to argue whether we missed the in-office experience, but it definitely, where it wasn't a choice, we all continue to work. And if you look at the profitability of the S&P 500, these companies did extremely well, right? So companies grew, and once it became the new normal. So my first thing is the macro factors are, there is a large segment of the population, of the labor force, that choose to work at home, right? And whether you think it's 10 or 90, read whatever survey, it is a segment. And I think that that's really going to challenge as well. So that's the first comment. The second, that's the macro factor. And people, they really want to work from home. They feel just as productive. And then there's another segment that want to go to the office. They miss the social. Some of that's demographic based. But I do think there's a huge shift. And the question is, how do companies address this, and what's your strategy, which I think we can talk about.
Absolutely. And with the Great Resignation going on, I feel like S&P Data Digital is at a great position to help a bunch of different companies in a bunch of different industries. What can S&P Data Digital offer these companies at this time?
Yeah, so great question. So the first thing is now, like every good CEO, you had to ask yourself, how do you keep engaged with your employees? These were the challenges that we saw, right? How do you, as you know, Heath, we have decided that our place is where our market positioning is that we believe in work from home, and we are going entirely work from home. So we're going to address that. And so the question so we decide the macro factors, again, digital, the digital transformation accelerated 10 to 20 years. People really got used to ordering online. We all know QR codes, et cetera. And then the question is, there's also a subset of the labor force that has a preference for working from home. And so sort of theoretically, we said, where's our sandbox? Where are we going to play? And first of all, by the way, when we sent people home, our initial way we did that is through a hub and spoke, meaning if you're in the area, let's say we had a contact center in San Diego, California, where I'm from, those people would be in the area, you sent them home and you'd recruit locally. But we'd soon realize that we can recruit nationally. And that's really been great. So the first thing is, everyone's in crisis mode in terms of hiring. The first thing we do is we have a national footprint or North American footprint for recruiting. That's been really helpful. A lot of people have decided to travel while they work, or go and live rurally where they work. And this really taps into a segment of the population that are very talented.
I completely agree. I feel like people finally got that true experience of work-life balance. And once you get that, it's hard to ever go back to the way it was.
I have a philosophy, and when I compare, if you call it that segment, the retail segment or the hospitality segment, people, there's a lasting impression that COVID has left us, at least for now. And that is that people don't want to work in environments where there's lack of control, meaning you walk into a place as a visitor and we don't know what you bring. Many would rather work from home. So I think that retail, hospitality are going to have a hard time staffing. And what S&P Data Digital has done is really recognize that, we offer really great opportunity, and that can be from home. And so therefore, if you take all those people that don't want to work as that part of sales, they want to have control of their own destiny, we're tapping into an extremely talented pool of labor.
Yes, and you mentioned there that people aren't really bound by the vicinity of the office. People can really work from anywhere. How have you found the scalability of that model really impact business?
Yeah, first of all, just to give you an idea about the scale and the demand for what we're doing, and I said this, if you're in crisis mode, we're helping companies in crisis mode, and we're delivering, in two ways. Number one, our funnel, and that's with we have our RPO platform. We should talk about that, but we're also having people stay longer. The best story I tell to really reinforce our message was the CEO of AirBNB was talking about his business the other day after their quarterly earnings, which were great. And, that's part of the thesis, that these people are actually, they're using Airbnb to work from. They're exploring adventure while they're working remotely. And I think that's pretty interesting. And that's why their business grew. His cash flow was supposed to be 100,000 for the quarter. It was 1.2 billion. But he made a comment saying that he forever will allow employees to work from home and work from anywhere. And that night he had 800,000 hits to his job site. Now, this is so fantastic. Think about that. Think about the incredible impact of that. Everyone's having trouble staffing. And this guy gets 800,000 people hitting his website, his job site, excuse me. So I just think that really is the way we're doing it. It talks about our brand positioning. Now, can others replicate that? Yes. But no, we bring technology. We have our recruiting platform. We've done a number of things that, really has helped solve, I think, what is a huge problem and challenge going forward.
So Dan, tell me a little bit of how you've really adapted to provide quality candidates for your clientele.
Yeah, great. So very good question. So it's a really fantastic time. And so we developed something, one of the partners and I, we had our own CRM company. We are developers, hold a patent, and we've always had a very good vision because we've understood the business challenge. And so if you're talking about contact center, in that case, CRM, we understood, the deficiencies and the customer experience. One of the processes that we always thought was broken was the way you recruit. And so we tackled this issue, Heath, even before COVID. Everyone would ask you, any buyer would ask you, tell me what your turnover is like. And what was happening in the industry even before COVID. is that, you train people, you'd recruit people, you train them, and some would make it through training, and then even if they made it through training, they would quit within the first 3 months. There were defined periods when people would leave, and the funnel would would work its way down. And also, people I used to always say, shop by day and buy by night. In other words, you'd be looking for the jobs, but you'd inquire at night. Traditional, recruitment facilities were probably closed at night, maybe open a bit on the weekend, but, during when most of the volume was coming, people weren't around. And then, there was no science behind recruiting. Okay. You had a great recruiter. They looked for certain attributes. They saw it on the resume, they'd call, but they'd walk in on a Monday morning and they'd have a pile of resumes and they'd leaf through them arbitrarily. So the first thing is we wanted to use technology, and we immediately started to deploy an AI recruiting, AI to be used to leaf through the resumes and to grade them. And what we did is, we take the top performers, feed them into the machine, profile what we're looking for. And so that was really, that's the start of it. But so first we recognized that we didn't want to arbitrarily go through resumes. Number two, we realized that most people were on their mobile, and the industry was only connecting with 1 out of every 5 people that raised their hand and said, I want to talk to you. So that was, you weren't open the hours. 3, we understood that, we also couldn't, we wanted to be able to get these people quicker. We wanted to be able to make sure they would stay. So, we wanted to be able to predict whether it was a good environment for them. So we incorporated, so we had a chatbot that would go out, which meant it was mobile, it was on all the time. So we integrated that. And then we integrated it with the ATS system, the applicant tracking system. You get through that. And then if you're all qualified while you're still engaged, we'd send you, a predictive index, which was also great, was great for the candidate. And some other factors we want to take the bias out. So we're very DE&I. So you remove names, you remove the college is not important. There's certain things we've done to make it very DEI compliant. And then we do, we integrate the background checks and stuff. So anyhow, it's gone very well. So here's what we found out. So we developed that 3 years ago, Heath, and started to evolve it and integrated more and more pieces. We do video, et cetera, for the final interview. And what we found was that it was helping us. And we initially did it so we would speak to more people that raised their hand, but we also found out that we could increase the funnel, and we could dramatically increase the speed to hire, and we could predict whether that person would stay longer. So that platform was internal, and we started to expose it externally, but certainly it's helped us in terms of recruiting a wider base of people. The machine can look at a number of people, so the funnel is filled up, and that's really helped us nationally. And it seems like deliver higher quality candidates. And so that's really been our focus. So I think we finally found, as I mentioned to you initially with COVID, it was very much a hub and spoke, right? And that hub and spoke meant you were just locally. But now that we're doing nationally, I think that, our RPO platform, which we call Air, has really been huge for us. The Air platform has really helped us define, and find great candidates.
So your RPO platform is a huge competitive advantage. How do you say that's really translated into your current customers? And what do you think the benefits are for a potential client?
So I think that all of these things have served our existing customers. The first thing is that, it gives us, proper staffing, quality. And we've started to see really great results. We always expect to be in the top tier of anything we do. And so, like anyone, we're all challenged finding people, but I think that we've recognized that there's we've recognized there's an enormous amount of talent that wants to work from home and be in control of their schedules and their lives. And the second thing is that through the machine Air, we have a great way of profiling them to make sure, number one, it's a good fit, they have the right skill set. and then also to sort of predict that it's the right environment for them as well. So I think that, that platform has done a lot, and helps us. So what I would say to your prospects, companies are looking to do different things, Heath. And one of the things about S&P Data Digital is whether you agree with what we're doing or not, we'll never be accused of not trying. And I think that the difference between our company and anyone else in what we'll call the BPO space, if that's what you call us, though I hate the term, is that, we come with ideas and deliver innovation. We develop it behind the scenes and perfect it, and then we go to market with it. And we're doing this very deliberately. We have a very acute understanding of the operational, and in this case, as you know, we play on the revenue side of CX, and we blend it with that you have to have great talent. So we really understand all the problems and really attack. And I think what we've done with the Air platform and then overlaid it with the way people want to work is we really bring the best talent to the table, and we can scale it, Heath. I mean, we can really scale. We did special projects with Scale for PPP loans and for in the health industry, COVID appointments and stuff. Those were very scalable. And so I think we can do really well and really help a lot of people. And, I think that and, we can talk about bringing, we're very much to the new digital and the way that you communicate with people and the way they want to be communicated with. And I think that the platform actually is what's unique, is that most people still use traditional means to communicate, the phone, maybe an email, right? But, we're using digital, we're using text, we're using chat. We're really using a bunch of different things that really, we apply the same to a client or prospect in terms of, I always talk about digital retargeting. Well, digital retargeting for most companies is they send an email after you've raised your hand and you never respond to the email. And we would interrupt that journey and sort of blend it. So we don't take cookie cutters approaches to anything, but we use logic and we use science. And it's really been a differentiator.
Well, thank you for joining me today, Dan. And for you guys, thanks for watching. And if you like this content, please like and follow for more.